For years and years and years, we have talked about the murder rate in Jamaica. Jamaica is a beautiful country. Jamaica is paradise. If you've never been to Jamaica before, if you've never went out and partied late night under the stars, I'm not talking about inside of a club. I'm talking about outside under the stars, in the streets, big speakers, partying all night, and then you get some food. Jamaica street food is top tier. I'm talking about pan jerk chicken. I'm talking about jerk pork off the grill. I'm talking about fried fish and festival. I'm talking about ackee and sawfish. I'm talking about roast yam. I'm talking all that good stuff. And not to forget the street vibes rum. Not to forget rum punch. Not to forget anything else. The beaches, the pulsating, vibrant culture. Jamaica is unmatched. But Jamaica's murder rate, we've been tracking Jamaica's murder rate for the past decade, okay? And it has not been a pretty sight. Just now in 2025, Jamaica, for the first time in 2025, got its murder rate somewhat under control. We've always said that if Jamaica can drop its murder rate all the way down to about 30, 40, 50, 100 a year, Jamaica would see a boom in tourism it has never seen before. That money would be able to trickle back into the workers being paid livable wages. Hell, it'll be so much money they'll be able to pay the workers above livable wages, like really good money that they can brag about. For instance, if Jamaica does 3 million tourists this year, the Bahamas is doing 10, 11, 12 million tourists. If Jamaica got that same weight in tourist visits per year, 12 million, you could just imagine the revenue, right? The Airbnbs, the local market, the all-inclusive hotels, the tour guides, all these things. Now, with that said, a lot of people have been scared to go to Jamaica. People have told me many times, man, SouFLo, I love Jamaica, but every time I go, I feel scared. So I stay in the Airbnb, and my wife said we shouldn't go there this year because she doesn't like being locked up or extra cautious because she's on vacation to relax. So let's go to St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's go to Antigua and Barbuda. Let's go to Grenada. Let's go to Dominica. Truthfully, those are other Caribbean islands that have way less numbers when it comes to murder than Jamaica does. Now, to put things in perspective, most murders that are committed in Jamaica are either domestic issues, meaning spouse on spouse argument, or family issues, or gang related issues. In this year, 2025, it's been mostly police killings. The police have come out strong, and they've been killing like never before. And, there's another issue there to talk about: the strategy that Jamaica has used to keep its murder rate low. Given that it's a election year, and of course that has us saying, well, damn, if they can go all those years with the murder rate being super high, and the leaders of the country seeming to not really care so much, but when it's time for them to be reelected or to attempt to be reelected, they pull all the stops. And suddenly the murder rate is cut in half and getting lesser. To cut Jamaica's murder rate in half and get it less than half is nothing short of magic. However, the strategy that's been used in this is not clear, is not rocket science. It's not hard to see. It's obvious. The police has been given free rein to kill, and that's what's happening. So, in one sense, that has caused the gang members to scatter, to hide, to not be so busy killing each other and fighting with each other, because when the police intervenes, they're killing everybody involved. And that's cool if that's for gangs only. But the strategy in Jamaica has been every person that has been shot by the police was reported as somebody who had pulled a gun to confront the police. Now, I'm saying to myself, of all these 10 years of me tracking Jamaica's murder rate and the incidents of murder on the island of Jamaica, I have never seen so many people decide that this year I'm going to pull a gun on the police, get into a shootout with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and probably get myself killed or shoot my way out of this shootout. So I find it kind of weird that hundreds of people have been killed already. Hundreds have been killed already. Let me say it again. Hundreds of people have been killed already by the Jamaica police just this year alone. From January to today, September 3rd, hundreds of Jamaicans have been killed already. It's a strategy that has worked, obviously, on the real criminals, the real killers, but it's also a strategy that has backfired on the civilian population, because in these numbers of hundreds, I'm betting that there are some people who just did not do what they said they did and lost their lives, and were just written off as he fired at us, we fired back at him, he died, write it off, we killed another criminal, moving right along. So the families are getting no justice. And the advocacy groups are protesting, and all they're asking for is body cameras on these police officers, just so the police officers can be believed and they have proof when they interact with civilians and it turns deadly, just so the people's rights also can be protected. And these families who are losing loved ones can get some kind of justice, truthful explanation. Now, if the police officers are able to show body cam with your family member confronting them in a gunfight and your family member ends up dead, that's something that you will just have to accept. I mean, you can't raise everybody right, or you can't save everybody even after you've raised them right, right? Right. But if that body cam shows different, then there's room for legal fight and justice within the system. Right now, the people don't really believe in the system. A lot of Jamaicans believe that police officers are just executing young men and then putting a gun on them, because the story sounds the same no matter where in the 14 parishes of Jamaica the murder is committed or the killings are committed by the police. It's always, we went to to look at this location. He pulled a gun, fired at us. We killed him. Every single time. It's always the same type of gun with 2 to 3 live rounds in it. Now, leading up to the election, because today is September 3rd that I'm doing this video, and today is also Jamaica's general election. The Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Andrew Holness, this was his running point in 2016 when he took office. Jamaica crime rate was high. They were doing 1,000 and more murders per year. And the Prime Minister ran on the premise that he promised Jamaican people that when I'm done with the crime, you will be able to sleep with your windows and your doors open. Well, there's a problem. 9 years going on 10 years later into his prime ministership, if you will, that never happened. the crime rate soared under his command, elevated every single year. Some years went as high as 1,600 murders, civilians murdered in Jamaica under Andrew Holness's watch. So, coming up to the election, to see him able to cut that number down to less than half, many of us are like, man, it's like the politicians control the murder rate in the country. And if they want it to go high, they leave it and let it go high. And then they control the population through fear. They also control the tourism industry through fear. There's a lot of killings going on in Jamaica. The murder rate is 1,200 this year. Last year, this year, it's 1,450. Make sure you stay inside of the all-inclusives, then you're safe. And then, of course, the all-inclusives are able to operate by using their buses to pick tourists up from the airport, bus them straight into an all-inclusive where they have private beaches that are exclusive to that hotel that they're staying at. All their food, drinks, whatever is provided. When it's time for them to leave, that same bus takes them right back to the airport and they fly right back out of Jamaica. And then they say, I've been to Jamaica. But honestly, we don't think that that's Jamaica, Jamaica. You had a snippet of Jamaica. If you did not get out into the streets, mingle with the locals, eat some street food, spend the night partying under the stars, you probably did not experience the real Jamaica, authentic Jamaica. Now, Airbnbs are popping up everywhere, and they're taking away a great deal of the money from these massive hotels, all-inclusive resorts that they're building. And that money, of course, is going into the pockets of real, regular Jamaicans. So, the way to scare visitors into staying with the tourism industry is to keep the crime rate high. So America and other so-called first world countries will continue to warn their citizens through travel advisories, high alert, be very careful. I would suggest you go somewhere else, right? Now, as of September 3rd of 2025, which today is election day, which Jamaica will today vote who is their prime minister for the next 5 years. Will it be Andrew Holness getting a third term under the JLP government, or will Jamaica say time has come for change and choose different and go with Mark Golding, who has never been their prime minister before, but does have promising energy, ideas, and seems to have the intelligence to pull it off. Murder count has jumped to double digits after a recent decline in Jamaica. So although the murder numbers are looking good, the Andrew Holness administration has really never developed a strategy to fight murders, crimes in Jamaica. When I say crimes, I'm talking more about violent crimes like murder. They really never, in 9 years of government, they never came up with a strategy, a crime-fighting plan. They have overused zones of special operation and state of emergency. Under state of emergency, the citizens of Jamaica, their rights are suspended because it is a state of emergency. So the police is given extra power where they can drag a citizen into lockup, interrogation, and confinement for unseeable future until that zone of special operation or until that state of emergency is expired. And it started to become a sore point because a lot of Jamaican youths started to become very resentful towards the law enforcement because they were dragged into confinement, they were locked up, they were held with no explanation other than we suspect that you're into something for months. And then they were just let go with no charges. And nothing comes of it because it was state of emergency. So the overuse of the state of emergency was not a good thing. Zones of special operations, again, infringes on the Jamaican citizens' rights. That's where roadblocks are set up. That's where the military comes out to join forces with the police. That's where they stop and frisk, search people, vehicle. That's where you have these zones where if you go into that zone, you more than likely will be searched. You more than likely will have to present documents. You more than likely. So you're not allowed to move freely through the country. And although it presents results, it's not to be used frivolously, which the Andrew Holness administration is guilty of using zones of special operation and state of emergency frivolously with no crime plan in sight. And that was the complaint coming from the opposition party all throughout those years. Now, election year 2025, starting January, when we see a high murder rate from the police and low murder rate from those who are killing each other out in the population, this is where everyone has to step back and say, wow, well, I guess the police is the one doing all the killing now. I'll give you an example. Jamaica's weeks of low homicide counts came to an end last week as 23 murders were recorded in that 1 week, the highest in recent weeks of a single-digit killings. So the killings, which occurred between August 23rd and August 30th, that brought the island back to the 2024 average weekly murder count, just like that. According to the police's latest serious crime statistics. And I'm thinking that happened because the election is right around the corner. By the 30th of August to the 3rd of September, that's 3-4 days, they had to move some of the zones of special operations and ease up on the heavy police patrol in order for the people to be able to move about and in order for the people to be able to campaign in their different parties. All these orange colors and these green colors are out in the thousands. So if they had the same zone of special operations in place, blocks locked off, streets cut off by law enforcement, by their military, people would not be able to move freely and you would risk losing the election. So in an event to have the people move about freely, to promote their politics and hopefully win the election, 23 murders. As soon as law enforcement is moved, 23 murders in 1 week. That is what we had for last week between the 23rd of August and the 30th of August. Wow. So the report shows that as of August 30th, Jamaica's murder toll stands at 459. Now, that 459 is a long ways from what it would have been last year or was last year. This represents a 42% decline compared to the same period of the previous year. 42% is a huge drop. If I told you I was taking 42% of your salary, that would be almost half of your salary. If you had $100 to your name and I took 42% of it, you would be left with 30-something dollars. the mathematicians are going to say, no, SouFlo, you'd be left with 40 something dollars, $42, right? Something like that. Anyways, you get the drift. It's a huge drop. However, it begs to show that the strategy that's in place is not feasible. The people are going to have to lose their rights or their freedom to move about their own country, or the police is going to have to continue to kill at a high rate. Now, with 459 murders, if police killings are involved in this, then more than half of that is police murders or police killings of civilians. A week earlier, between August 16th and August 22nd, 14 murders were recorded. So, the last 2 weeks leading up to this election, you had 1 week where there were from the 23rd to the 30th of August, where you had a lot of murders. And then the week previous to that, you had a lot of murders. A week earlier, between August 16 and 2022 and 22nd, 14 murders that week. Prior, you had August 9th to August 16th, they had 7 murders. The spike last week was largely driven by 11 homicides over 2 days. 11 homicides in 2 days. I'm going to say it again. 11 murders in 2 days. From Tuesday to Thursday morning. Among the 19 police divisions, St. Andrew South leads with 55 homicides, followed by St. James and St. Anne with 41 each. St. Anne used to be like one of the safest, nicest places to be in Jamaica. St. Catherine South is third with 40. 16 divisions have recorded reduction in murders compared to last year. So, other serious crimes across the island include shooting with intent. People are getting shot, but they're just not dying. So that's not considered murder. However, the violence is there. Injured persons, rape, also have declined according to media information coming out of Jamaica, while robberies, break-ins, those have risen by up to 29% respectively. Overall, crime across the island, according to statistics, is said to be down by 16%. The continued decline in the murders has been a major talking point during this political campaign leading up to this general election today, Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. The leading ruling party under Andrew Holness is bragging that they have managed to finally cut the murder rate drastically, but we caution everyone to keep into consideration how we got here, the strategy that was used to get here. And realistically, is this sustainable? Here's the kicker. The main concern is that eventually the election will run off. Somebody will be elected, and the country will have to deal with who that is. If it's Andrew Holness getting a third term or it's Mark Golding becoming prime minister, fine. But the strategy, the murder rate, will then go back to what it was before, because the strategy that is used to keep it where it's at now or to reduce it to where it's at now is not a strategy that is sustainable. Just to let you know what's going on in Jamaica when it comes to the murder rate. Wish Jamaica all the best. we're there all the time. We will continue to be there all the time. Like I said, Jamaica is a paradise, and some of us are well connected there and won't stop going there. However, just like everywhere else, approach with caution. I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. Hit that subscribe button. I'm out. Peace.